Thank you, Madam Mayor. As ever, and predictably, I cannot support any budget that proposes any tax rise with any de facto service cuts. Last Thursday I attended the Cabinet meeting and I heard a very good case from the leader for this particular budget, and I heard a very good argument from the leader of the opposition for increasing the council tax to its maximum, which we have indeed just done. All within, of course, the wider context of current national and global issues. The war in Ukraine was mentioned, as was COVID. That's why Councillor Rice is not here this evening. That pandemic is still going on. But Brexit was conspicuous in its absence. But what I also saw was two men leaning round to speak past the elephant in the room. An elephant which, unlike many campaign buses, had a truth written on the side of it in the word austerity. You're all bored of hearing about it and I'm bored of talking about it, but this might be my last chance. For 13 years, local authorities have been struggling to do more with less, and working class people have got less for more. And this budget proposes both a tax rise and de facto cuts in services. People are leaving the public sector not because they feel they aren't paid enough or they've had a better offer, but because they just cannot do their jobs anymore. Our Playbox team, for instance, which many of us have benefited from over the past 4 years, is comprised of 3 people, last I heard, one of which has retired and will not be replaced, one is on long-term sick, and one has just handed in notice. Apologise if any of that's untrue, but that is the last that I heard. We've just negotiated a new waste collection contract with Suez, who apparently will be doing more with less, but what if they can't? Already people are paying their taxes, then paying again through council tax, then paying again for services such as garden waste collection. Council tax should subsidise general taxation, not replace it, but every year Ashford Borough Council is forced to do more with less and charge those least able to afford it for services they have already paid for. 13 years we've had austerity. There are children considering what GCSEs they will take to set themselves up for the rest of their lives, who have no idea what free adult education is or what a properly funded local authority is actually capable of. Ashford Borough Council has done more than just survive through those years, to the credit of our CEO and our leader. What could have been if government funding had not been slashed year after year? I heard the leader proudly proclaiming that as soon as the EU referendum vote was announced, he ordered the creation of the Ashford Economic Resilience Reserve, and that this has also got us through COVID and helped with the current cost of living crisis. Aren't we clever? We recognised what the idiots in Westminster were doing and we took precautions. We didn't do anything about it. We didn't speak out. We didn't try to prevent any of it. If we had, it would have been a futile gesture, but that's better than nothing, so I keep telling myself. Instead, we kept our heads down and we bid for grants and we applied for funding and we begged for scraps from the table and we praised our overlords when those scraps fell. And all that time, the government were partying, sliding multi-billion-pound contracts to their mates, and now telling us that austerity is here to stay because they will not renationalise the utilities that our residents cannot afford. They will not tax the corporations such as Boots, Amazon, Starbucks, and they will not fund local authorities properly. They won't tax the oil companies that are reporting record profits and spend that money on transitioning to renewable energy to mitigate climate change, and they won't tax the billionaires that own the mainstream media, the ones distracting us with their anti-woke culture war and horror stories of refugees earning an honest living or a trans woman doing a wee in the wrong place. This country is falling apart.
Madam Chairman, point of information or point of clarity. We're rather getting a speech here about central government, and I think we're here to deal with the budget matters on item 11. Thank you.
And local government.
If I may carry on, Madam Mayor, local government dictates and puts us in the position that we are trying to put a budget together. So if I may carry on, this country is falling apart and beginning to eat itself alive. As futile as it may be, we have to stand up and say something, which is what I am doing now. It's not fair on our residents, it's not fair on our staff, and it is not fair on the members of this chamber. We have one group who are forced to defend austerity because their gang brought it in. We have another group who are not allowed to mention it because their gang plans to continue it. And we have a third group who, understandably, don't want to engage with the nasty, mudslinging national politics that we are all victims of. There are members in this room this evening that are very aware that this time next year they could be in that chair in a worse position than we are now.
Could I ask you to wind up, please?
I am
Campkin?
winding
Campkin,
lots of
Campkin.
people up, I should imagine, Madam Mayor.
You have 5 minutes, and actually you're just about to go over that. Thank you.
I am aware that I am not one of the people that will be in that chair, possibly in a year's time. I am, however, very aware this puts me in a very privileged position. I can get away with saying the things that others either cannot or will not. I can get away with voting against this. I can make a principled stand without having to face the consequences. I can be a hero or a martyr, and I don't have to be the villain. But as the late great Ben Parker once said, with great power comes great responsibility. So while I have the freedom, I will stand here like Jarell at the Council of Krypton, because someone has to, as futile as it may be.
Thank you, Councillor
With regret,
Campkin.
Madam Mayor, I cannot support this budget.
Thank you, Councillor Campkin. I think we need to give other people a chance to express their views as well. Councillor Chilton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, can I just join with the Chair of the Scrutiny Committee in thanking all those people who came before the committee